Ghrelin is like a gremlin. So he's like, I'm hungry, feed me. Your brain has a massive influence on your appetite, your hunger, your experience of trying to adjust your diet. But I think it's really helpful to understand what's going on with the physiological first, because you can kind of, to a point, control your brain, but the physiology, the hormones, is out of your realm in a lot of senses. So let's understand those first, and then we can talk about like the stuff you can actually affect more. So you have got two main hunger hormones, which are ghrelin and leptin. Well, ghrelin is your hunger hormone, and I like to remember it like ghrelin is like a gremlin. So he's like, I'm hungry, feed me. And it's produced in your stomach, and it tells your brain, right, go and find some food. We need to get some food. And there's lots of things that can trigger it to be higher. One of the key ones that you can influence your ghrelin levels is sleep.
Of course.
So lack of sleep really affects your ghrelin levels, and protein. So high protein diets actually suppress your ghrelin levels as well. So there are things you can do to influence these hormones, but maybe not as much as the psychological stuff that we'll talk about later. And then the other one is leptin. So that's a satiety hormone. So that tells you after you've been eating for a little while, that's kind of your body saying, okay, yeah, we've probably had enough now. And it sends a signal to say, yeah, I'm full, we can stop eating. And that's produced by your fat cells, interestingly. So leptin communicates with your brain about your energy stores, hence why it's from your fat cells, because it's saying, right, yep, energy is back to that homeostatic balance. We're happy now, we can stop eating. And that's what's interesting is as your body fat changes, has an influence on these hormones. So you know when people say, oh, as I lose weight, it feels like it's even harder and I get even hungrier.
Oh yeah, definitely. I do, because you'll see like your leptin levels can be so low that, and if anyone's dieted for a long period of time, you will know that you've had this feeling where you eat and it feels like it didn't even touch the sides. So you just feel like you're just this like endless bucket that could just never be filled, and you could just eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. And I think that's often a consequence. So it is the consequence of just your leptin levels being just like shot, just being really, really low. And it makes the dieting process from a physiological standpoint a hell of a lot harder.
And equally the other way around. So people with higher levels of body fat can actually end up with leptin resistance. It's a bit like insulin resistance. It basically means your body's sending the signal to say, yeah, we've had enough, but your brain doesn't register that signal. So you just keep eating. You don't have that natural off switch. And that can also be why for people who have a lot of weight to lose, it feels a lot harder than somebody who's maybe only got a couple of kilos to lose, because their body isn't really listening to the signals.
Well, I mean, like, coming back to, what do you say?
Homeostatic.
Homeostatic, hedonic, our body's always trying to remain a homeostasis, basically trying to stay where it's at. If you've been at a certain weight for a certain period of time, your body is always trying to get there. So anytime you try and move away from that to an extent, your body wants to bring you back to homeostasis. So it makes sense that happens a lot. A couple of kilos, not huge, but when you start to see big shifts in terms of, that becoming, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds, and I guess that, the part here is like, yes, your body you will get certain signals. Some people are going to struggle with it more than others, down to genetics, down to food choices, down to lifestyle choices. But like, it is as well, to an extent, part of the process.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, there are a few things that you can do to mediate these effects of your hormones. So with your ghrelin, manage your sleep, go for that 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep a night. High protein diet. So we want to be aiming for like 25 to 30 grams of protein at each meal. And then for your leptin, you actually can really improve your leptin resistance with exercise. So don't know why, I'm not that much of a scientist, but the more you exercise, the better your brain is at listening to that signal that you're full. So there are very simple things you can do without massively changing your actual diet that can make your diet feel more satisfying, which is pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. I think it's... when we look at appetite a lot of the times, and we're talking about here, it's this sort of through line that we always say is like, the more minimally processed foods that you have, the harder it is to an extent to overeat. If you're having like lots of lean meats, lots of vegetables, maybe, just like lots of like foods that are not processed at all, it does become really hard to overeat on those foods to the point where you could program a client or give a client a meal plan, and a meal plan isn't what we do for people, by the way. But like you could give them, and they could be like, this is too much food. And you could literally get to a point where a person could go like, I can't eat all this food, even though the calories on the food that you've given them, it would help them lose weight. And it's like, if you think about that for a second, it's like, wait, I can eat so much food that I am so full and so satiated that I can't eat anymore. And it's like, yeah. And it's like, that's kind of like a bit of a cheat code and hack to making losing weight like less painful. Yes, you're not going to be maybe slamming back all these highly palatable processed foods that are maybe explosions of flavor in your mouth. You can still have a little bit of that, but it's just like, that's not going to make up the majority of your diet, maybe like how it has been.
Yeah. And I think it's really key to talk about that, what role the choices you make play in satiety, because it's really interesting. Although there are these hormones that register when you eat, oh yeah, now we're full. Actually, there's so much to do with like, does your food look visually appealing? Did you smell your food being cooked? Did it taste good? What kind of fork and what kind of plate did you eat off?
Yeah.
Like genuinely all these things affect your perception of how full you were. So again, there are things that you can do to help make your meals fill you up and feel better. You talked there about food choices and like volume foods are amazing. So that is things where you can eat like a whole plate of vegetables.
Yeah.
You get a lot of physical volume. Like imagine all those vegetables kind of in your stomach. Like literally visualize that right now. Of course you're going to feel full if you ate that many.
It's a huge amount of food, yeah.
But that would have probably been like 100 calories. Now, if we compare that to a high calorie density food, which is low in volume, so let's say 2 squares of chocolate, still 100 calories, is your stomach physically going to be full?
Yeah, there's a lot of these trends actually going around social media at the moment, where it shows like there's a straight line down the middle, when it shows like, I haven't eaten that much, and it's like 500 calories of food, and then it's like, I've eaten too much, and it's like it's like 1,500 calories, should I say, and it's like 1 or 2 items, and then it's like the opposite is like 5 meals, a protein shake, and 3 snacks.
Yeah.
And I think they are really great visual representations of just showing, like, when you make smart food choices, you can actually feel like you're eating more food than you ever have, and you're losing weight, and that's like so much of being successful, I believe, with anything like food, dieting, training, business. It's like, how do I make it easy? And it's like, if you can just like follow the through line of like, how is your default to just make it easy for you to achieve your goals? It's just not as painless. Like, oh, it's pain.
It is painless.
It is painless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, volume. If you don't know what is even a volume food, like you can't go wrong with veg, pretty much, especially non-starchy veg. So like sweet potatoes probably don't fall in this, but like most other vegetables, you can cram your plate full of them and for very low calories fill your stomach physically very well. The other thing when it comes to food choices is your macros.
I would also add that like lean meats.
You can eat like a lot of say prawns, shrimp.
Yeah, I've done it before. I've eaten just like mince. Try eating a pound of mince. No one's probably ever done that.
Ground beef.
Just me. It looks like dog food. Yeah.
Well, just straight up.
I just put a bit of salt on, and yeah, see, now I'm like not becoming relatable at all. I just see, you know what I mean? Like,
look at my face. Like, let's just go back to grilled shrimp, please.
Yeah,
with a bit of mango.
But yeah, like if you had like a plate of meat and vegetables, like you could eat like so much for 500 calories, to the point where you'd probably not want to eat